Hi everyone and welcome to the Bold Hairspring. My name is Ivan. In today's video we'll be having a look at another watch of my collection, an Omega Aqua Terra Golf Edition on its steel bracelet. This is the updated model from 2017 with the 8900 master chronometer movement. If you are in the hunt for a versatile sports watch to wear daily, you may want to stick around until the end of this video. We can't really start this review without showing you this beautiful lacquered wooden box the watch comes in. It's really amazing, guys, and it's really worth mentioning because many way more expensive watches from other well-known brands do not come in such nice boxes. On the inside, as you can see, it's padded with leather, and we even find this very nice Omega branded pouch hidden in this compartment right here that you can use to transport your watch or other accessories. Now, obviously what we care about the most is the watch, but such a beautiful presentation, it really adds to the overall experience, especially when you're spending over 5,000 euro on a watch. Alright, so let's get the dimensions out of the way first. The diameter of the case is 41.5 millimeters, but keep in mind that Omega offers most of their Aqua Terra collection in 38 millimeters as well. Then the height of the watch comes down to a little bit less than 14 millimeters, 13.6 to be exact. So sliding it under the cuff of your shirt shouldn't be a very difficult thing to do. The space between the lugs is a standard 20 millimeters, and finally the lug-to-lug distance is just 47.7 millimeters, which allows this Aqua Terra to be worn on smaller wrists. Now mine is about 17 centimeters, and as you can see, it wears really well. It also feels very comfortable on the wrist, and for a sports watch I can tell you guys that it's also quite elegant. Even more so if you go for a different dial color, such as black or blue. Now, having said that, you can choose from 37 different options. Besides the different dial options, Omega offers this Aqua Terra on a huge variety of NATO straps, leather straps, and of course the stainless steel bracelet I'm showing you today. Additionally, there are two-tone and full 18-karat rose gold versions, which look stunning, but are significantly more expensive, as you can imagine. Now let's have a closer look at the watch. The first thing we can immediately recognize is the familiar Seamaster case design with its signature twisted beveled lugs. Once again, this is the 2017 updated Aqua Terra model, so it's a little bit different compared to the previous one. There are just a few changes and they're mainly aesthetic. The lines of the dial are now horizontal and not vertical. According to Omega, the dial design is inspired by the wood decks on luxury boats, which is something that I find quite interesting. Then what's good to see is that even though this is a sports watch, it still has a very respectable 150 meters of water resistant, which further adds to the versatility of the watch. Another noticeable change is the date window, which now sits at the 6 o'clock position and not at the 3, making the dial look a bit more symmetrical. As you have probably already seen, the finishing of the case is of very high quality. The bezel is highly polished, just like the top of the lugs and the center links of the bracelet. Then on the right we also find a screw-down crown signed with the Omega logo. So what can I tell you here, guys? The case is brilliant. I mean, really, it's very solid, superbly built, and it's exceptionally well finished. I particularly like very much the brushing on the sides of the case. I think it's done very nicely. Let me just mention a couple of things more about the dial, because I really think it's one of the highlights here. It stays under the slightly domed sapphire crystal that has air coating on both sides, which is really great because under certain light conditions the crystal just disappears. Then the dial itself it's just amazing, and absolutely everything you see here is executed and finished to the highest possible level of quality that can be achieved by using machines, of course, because nothing is handmade. The logo and the hour markers are applied. They're also filled with Super Luminova BGW9, and I'll show you how these glow in the dark a little bit later. Then the Seamaster printing, which is very sharp, and the seconds hand are orange. And finally we have the master chronometer co-axial printing, which is also very crisp. It's really nice to see that Omega has started to pay a lot of attention to details, but unfortunately that doesn't mean that the watch is perfect, at least in my opinion. My biggest complaint about the watch is the bracelet, and while not terrible, it just doesn't feel as solid and well built as the case. It's also a little bit too light for my taste. And you see, guys, I own this Victorinox, which I paid like 140 euro for it, and its bracelet actually feels better. I don't know, maybe I'm just being too critical because I'm a bracelets guy, but I believe a 5,400 euro watch should come on a bracelet that matches its price tag, and this one, it clearly doesn't. That's just my opinion, of course, but I strongly suggest you go check it out in person before you go for it. On a positive note, it's put together by screws on both sides, so resizing it is very easy. And to make it more elegant, Omega has chosen to use a butterfly clasp, which is actually quite nice, and it has ceramic ball bearings just like my Tudor, but there are no micro adjustments. So to size the bracelet, you can remove only whole links and half links, which means that getting a perfect fit might not be possible for everybody. I didn't have this problem, but because of all this, you might want to go for the leather or the rubber options, which from what I've heard are pretty decent. Next, we'll be discussing what is perhaps the most impressive thing about this Omega. That is the 8900 in-house co-axial movement, which you can see through the screw-down sapphire exhibition case back. The first thing that catches your attention here is that it's beautifully decorated with Geneva waves in arabesque, while the rotor and the bridges are rhodium plated. Now, besides looking good, there are quite a few things that make this movement technically impressive. Firstly, it's very accurate. Omega hasn't just taken it up to chronometer standards, but it has gone even further. The movement is now META certified by the Swiss Federal Institute of Metrology, which guarantees that your watch will be running from 0 to plus 5 seconds a day. On top of that, each watch has to pass through 10 days of water and shock resistant tests, accuracy related tests, and even anti-magnetism tests. The META certification is pretty much Omega's answer to Rolex superlative chronometer, as you can probably guess. In addition, the movement has a decent power reserve of 60 hours, and it's resistant to magnetic fields of up to 15,000 gauss, which is quite a lot. Finally, the movement has 2 barrels, and it has Omega's coaxial escapement, which needs less lubrication and theoretically creates less friction. Another interesting thing is that the movement has jump-in hours, so you can set the hour hand independently, which is pretty handy if you travel a lot and change time zones frequently. So yeah guys, the movement is nothing short of impressive. The last thing I'll be discussing today is the price. I've already mentioned a few times that this Aqua Terra has a retail price of 5,400 euro. But I honestly think that nobody should be paying retail for it due to a couple of reasons. The main one is that you're now in Rolex territory, and the Oyster Perpetua 39 retails for exactly the same, while the Rolex Air King is just a bit more expensive. For that price, you can also get a full titanium Grand Seiko Snowflake with its equally, if not even more impressive, spring drive movement and Zaratsu polishing. Now, these are very different watches, but I think that the alternatives are worth mentioning, especially when we're talking about spending 5,000 euro on a watch. The good news, however, is that if you really like the Aqua Terra, you don't have to spend 5,000 euro for it. In fact, I got mine for 4,100 from an AD with its 5 years warranty. I even got 1 year theft insurance for free. So that's 1,300 euro off retail, which is a very good deal. So when you go to an AD, don't be afraid to ask for a discount, because this watch performs pretty badly on the second-hand market. And if for whatever reason you need to sell it at some point in the future, you will lose a lot of money. But for 20% off though, you're getting yourself one of the best looking and most versatile watches that there is on the market right now. All I'm saying is that you should do your research before you spend big money on a watch, that's all. Alright guys, I think it's time to give you my final thoughts, and honestly, I think that this Omega is worth considering. It really is a great watch, and it has the potential to be your daily driver. It's sporty, it's casual, it's dressy at the same time. That's how versatile it is. The dial is stunning, and the movement is one of the toughest and most technically advanced in this price range. Everything negative that I said about it is very subjective, and at the end it all comes down to personal preferences. So make sure to see it in real life, as it will really help you make your mind up. If you have any questions, leave a comment below, and thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.